Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Paranormal Tuesday with me, your host, Jared Warne, and of course, I am joined by the regulars now. You do know them all. It is Mr. Carl Blissett and Mr. Robert Dyer. Good evening, guys.
Good evening, everybody.
I hope we're all doing okay. So we have had a change of subject for this evening. Of course, it was supposed to be possessions, but we do have a guest lined up who's going to be talking to you all about that, and we thought we'd save that for him. He's had some amazing personal experiences, so I can't wait for that interview to happen where we can share that with you. So yeah, we've been thinking about what we could, change the subject, and we were just having a discussion about it, and then I mentioned about having a dream, and then I'm like, that's the perfect episode for this week. This could probably be a sign from loved one. Actually, to talk about this, this probably be a better episode this week. So, of course, the topic is signs from loved ones from the spirit world to us. So I'm really looking forward to this. Of course, signs from loved ones in the spirit world, it could be anything from dreams to smells to feathers. I know obviously that's a very regular occurrence for some people. Of course, robins, I do say, is a sign from your loved ones, and of course, music, hearing voices, apparitions, and so forth. So it's going to be definitely an interesting episode this week to get into our own personal experiences, what some of you may not know. And of course, make sure you get your comments in. Of course, this is unfortunately the pre-recorded because time of this being released, I will be flying home from my holiday. So of course, we won't not being able to do it live, but the guys will be watching it live with you and obviously be able to comment back to you all your comments and questions you may have. But before we do get into this week's episode, don't forget, we are sponsored by Paranormal Technology, Paratech, who are, of course, based in Northern Ireland. Mark will look after you. Every week I tell you this, guys, make sure you go out and check his page out and his equipment because it's what we use in our investigation. And you've seen some of the things we have got with his equipment has been absolutely fantastic. Like the other week, the music box going off for fun. Yeah, the spirit box. We've had some fantastic responses with the equipment, so make sure you check them out. And of course, he will give you 10% off your first order to show him that you've liked the Paranormal Living page. So absolute win-win. And of course, some exciting news. We will be collaborating together in the not too near future, so that's very exciting. Paranormal Living and Paranormal Technology working together. So I really can't wait for that. And obviously, we will give you all the information very, very soon. So here we go. This is today's episode, a very, very personal one. I think I sort of feels quite, you can just that feeling of these experiences we all had and being able to share with each other. Carl, you're next to me, so I'll let you start off with your first experience you'd like to share with us, buddy.
Yeah, sure. I'd like to go back to my family. I think first experience that I can relate to is me mum and me auntie. They both lived together, and when my grandfather passed, they were just wondering, oh, I wonder if he's okay. I wonder if he's there with his wife up there, enjoying themselves. And then they had the curtains closed across the patio doors, and then they heard this tapping on the window. So they pulled the curtains across. There was two robins sat at the doorstep, just tapping on the window, and they were just watching them, like on where the window is. They opened the door, and they just sat there. They never flew off. They were just sat there and watching them. And my granddad used to always go in a certain way, we had two doors. He always used to go in the right side. Now this one, Robin on the right side, came into the house and literally stood next to my granddad's chair where he used to sit. Sorry, that was my family's experience. And since then, they've seen two birds all the time that's been coming to the door. If they've been feeling depressed, if they've been feeling upset, if they've been thinking about them, they said they've just seen two birds there the next day. They stood at the door. For me, I think that's my granddad and my grandma that's actually come forward in spirit.
That is absolutely amazing.
That's amazing.
I was going to, talking, of course, we'll start with robins. There's a video I've seen on TikTok. I'm going to try and share it on the page for people to see. But it's the same thing. This robin is sat on the patio door, on the handle. And then they open the door and it comes running in and starts just, pottering into the house. And I'm like, what an amazing experience. Of course, robins, they do say obviously is a sign from loved ones. What an amazing experience that must have been.
It really was.
Yeah. What about you, Bobby? Any experience with robins?
Not robins. Sort of like how can I say? Squirrels. I had a squirrel. I don't know if it comes into the same category though, but was it the other morning? Like I sort of opened the back door and there was a squirrel. Pun the word. He was holding some nuts, like, you know what I mean? And so you're going to believe this. The squirrel looked at me and come right to the end of the shed, and was looking at me, looked at me, and then it went. So I don't know if that's part of that. Could be part of it. I don't know, but that's the experience I've had anyway. I don't know if it's part of the paranormal world. I don't know. It's quite weird, that one, because I've never known a squirrel come up to you, look at you, and then go.
Yeah.
You'd think it'd be scary, wouldn't it? But like I say, the other experience I had was when I was very, how can I say, I was young. I must have been about 17, 18. And this is quite strange. I don't know how it works out, but it was like I was walking down the street. I can remember walking down the street. I was talking to someone like that. My mate had already had gone out in his car somewhere, or whatever. I don't know where he'd gone. And then basically, as I was walking down the road, it was like I heard a scream and a screech of brakes. This is the truth to this day. It was a screech, and I thought, well, what was that? I just blew it off, but it was nothing. I got back to the house. Also, my next door neighbour, he's a friend of mine. Like, his wife comes out, she turns around, and she says, he was in a car accident about 2 hours ago. And I thought, well, the screech and the scream, I thought, put that together, I might have got like a sign from beyond. You know what I mean? I don't know, a message or something like that. But yeah, I mean, like that, it's absolutely crazy. Yeah, it was really weird though, because I've never experienced. I was young anyway, but there was no one around. Seriously, there was no one around. It was just like coming off my head, coming out my head or whatever. And I was hearing this. It was like a screech, scream, and then that was it. She told me that. I was well gutted. I thought, well, what's going on here? You know what I mean? But as you know, I mean, signs. I mean, you get signs from all sorts of things anyway. I think, and I think like the feather seems to be the main issue that people seem to get. They're dropping their garden and stuff like that, or you get them in your house or whatever. It's quite crazy. Yeah, yeah. They're the only experiences I've really had, but obviously it was quite daunting, that one. Yeah, but yeah, I agree. Yeah, there is stuff out there that people don't realise. I mean, loved ones can contact in any way, in any form. That's what I believe. And yeah, but like I say, it was amazing, honestly.
Well,
Yeah.
just as you're talking, for the first thing you mentioned is squirrels. So we'll go on to obviously we'll stick with the animal theme. So obviously you was obviously a bit unsure on that one, but I do know a story. It wasn't my own personal experience, but last year after my dad died, the park where he passed away, my brother obviously went to put down some flowers. Obviously, wasn't sure obviously where he was, and the whole time he was walking through the park, this squirrel sort of latched onto him and just followed him
Really
all the way around the park. Yeah.
weird.
So I'm not like you say, could the squirrel been
Could that be?
leading him to
Could
where?
it be part of a sign from the loved one?
Well, it's like you say, just because of where he was and obviously what he was doing and putting these flowers down, and the squirrel followed him all the way around the park. It's it's definitely
Squirrels don't do that.
an,
You know.
well, this is it. It's definitely an interesting experience. Like I said, I wasn't
Wow.
there, but I remember when he told me, I was like, that's pretty. It's got to be something.
It has to be, doesn't it?
I'd like to think
There's
so at
probably a
least.
connection there
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah. I know. Talking of like going back to the Robins as well. There's a program we watch on Netflix. I don't know if many people have seen it. Some people I know have, which was called Surviving Death, and every episode was different. So they did everything from reincarnation to sounds from loved ones to mediumship to every episode has a different um about a different specific into the afterlife and things. Um, and one of them was, of course, like I say, sounds from loved ones, and it was about this bird. So the mother had passed away. I think it was the day of the funeral, and she'd always liked this specific bird. And what she'd said, one of the daughters had said, "Mum, if you can just give us a sign that you're there, this." She asked for this specific bird, which are not common around the area they live at. So the specific bird and this something else specific. Lo and behold, this bird appears, and they're not common
No,
in the area. And they're not common in the area she lives in. And then they were like, so obviously the sisters were like in tears because it was, I think it was on the windowsill. So as they've got outside, the bird jumped on her and starts crawling up her, and it wasn't threatened by her. And I'm like, this is like wow. And every time she sort of tried to release the bird, like by putting a hand up, it wouldn't. It keep coming back and sitting on her arm. But
Oh
again, it
my
was she'd specifically asked her mum for this sign by the specific bird and the specific things, and it had obviously all happened. I think it was the day of the funeral, if I remember correctly, or
God,
the day after she
amazing.
passed. Yeah,
Really good. Really
I'm
good.
watching this specific episode. I was like, this is amazing, and I think there was one about butterflies as well. Um, butterflies appearing and things. When it's not in a common area, or like you say, you're asking for specific things from loved ones who had passed, and then of course these things are actually happening. Moving on to now, of course, feathers. I know feathers is quite a common thing. I've had quite a few experiences myself. This is probably a more common thing than experience maybe animals or robins. But Bob, I'm going to start with you on this one. You had the experience with feathers yourself?
Well, like I said, I was sat in the garden once, and it was basically I was just sort of like just doing minding my own business. I felt something brush it. I thought it might have been like a fly or something like that, and then lo and behold, what found my feet was a little feather. Little feather. I'm not talking big feather, but a little feather, right? And it
Yeah.
was like clean. There was nothing wrong with it. It wasn't dirty or anything like that. It was a fresh feather, and I kept that in the house for a while, and then eventually it just started wilting. But I felt close to that feather. I don't know why. It was
Hmm.
well weird. It was
Oh, that's
very
cool.
weird because it was like I all checked it every day to see if it was all right, and I just put it on the side, put it on a little tray or something like that. I think it was at the time, a saucer, and just kept looking at it. And it just started, after a while, it just started to crumble like they do and all that. But I
Yeah.
kept watching. I was watching that for every single day. It was absolutely mental, absolutely mental. It was crazy. But
Oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah, I
cool.
agree. I agree. There was something there because it was attracting me to that feather all the time.
Yeah.
It was absolutely crazy. It was like check it, see it, make sure. I don't know why it was telling me to do that, but I was doing it because
Yeah.
it was so clean, it was so perfect. I thought, well, I don't want it getting dirty, so I'll bring it in and just put it on a saucer. Left it
Hmm.
on a saucer, and it just over the time, obviously, it just wilted. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was just something drew me to that feather. It's weird,
Wow.
absolutely crazy.
What about you, Cal?
Yeah, there was an incident, like I say, with the feathers in me mum's house.
Hmm.
Again, it was she went to bed and she got up one morning and there was a white feather on the chair where me granddad used to sit. And then she found one in the kitchen and she found one in the passageway as well. But the doors had never been opened. When she was like, just recently there was one, for instance, when we were all under lockdown when we couldn't go out. There was one in the passageway of her house, one in the kitchen, and there was one in the front room. So she had three altogether
Wow.
in a
Really?
mix. And it was just sat in the chair. And she picked it up, she kept it, she put it in a drawer in the bedroom. And then the next day, she said, "Oh, I wonder if that feather's still there." She went to the drawer. The feather had gone from the drawer, just totally disappeared, and she couldn't find it
Uh,
anywhere. And all the other two just constantly disappeared over time as well. The other two have gone. She can't find them anywhere.
Wow.
that was mad.
See, I've
So,
had a very
That's
yeah,
mad.
I've had a very
Wow.
similar experience with this. This is where I've like it's there for a reason.
yeah,
So two of my experiences with feathers was one. It was my granddad passed away on the 5th of November, and I think this Sunday was Remembrance Day. And obviously, I always used to go to Remembrance service with my granddad and watch the
Mm.
Veterans March and stuff like that. And like you say, it was the first one without him. So I was with my mum, and then all of a sudden, I think we were singing "Abide with Me" or something. It was along that towards that end of the service, and this white feather literally just comes dropping in front of me. It's from literally, and it landed on my arm, and I went, obviously trying to be quiet, rather. I'm like, "Mum." So I put it in my pocket. I'm like, that's a sign that because obviously I was very emotional that day. It was,
Oh, of course.
and it wasn't long after. I think by the time I got home, got it in my pocket to get this feather out, gone, disappeared. Can't
yeah,
explain it. And it only been in my pocket, in my coat. So, and I'm like, that was, yeah, that was a pretty special moment. And there was one of them as well. It was at a gig at this hotel in Blackpool, actually. And obviously, where the room is where you're singing the stage, it is nowhere near the front door. You have to walk through the main reception, through another room into the. So, and there's no stage door, so it's physically impossible for a feather to appear or anything like that unless someone brought it in with them. Um, and I just finished singing Unchained Melody, which is a song she always doing my Elvis show, dedicated to my nana and granddad. And I come off stage and I went back to get changed, and this one of the ladies, Marge, who's very open to the spirit world, and she's very into this. She come to me and said, "This was on stage. It was a big white feather, right?" And she said, "This was on stage. This just appeared on stage literally as you finished singing." I'm like, "Oh wow!" I said, "Right." I said, "Obviously knew it from my nana and granddad."
That's when he was performing on stage, and it turned up there
So
when you
while
left.
as I'd walked off, this feather's just appeared on stage literally from nowhere. There's no
Yeah.
explanation how this feather was there on stage, like, because apparently she literally said after I'd finished, and literally she looked at the stage and there's a feather there. Can't explain it. So then she gave it me, of course. So I said, obviously, like, wow, like, pretty taken back by it. So I put it in my bag, so I won't lose it. And then again, gone home, things disappeared. Can't explain
No,
it. Yeah, just disappeared.
that is
So
mental.
So
Wow.
it's very, very bizarre. And like I say, guys, make sure you get your comments in. When this is being shown live in that sense, Bob and Carl will be commenting back to you guys. So make sure you do get your comments in. But yeah, it's just, how would you explain it? I physically put it in my bag, or I physically put it in my pocket. You know it's there, you know it's safe. When you got home, you know what I mean? And it's like, how can it disappear? You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly. It's one
Unbelievable.
of them, isn't it? It's probably like the spirit world itself. When once you recognise that the feather itself is from the spirit world, it could be one of your loved ones. I think
Yeah,
that's when it disappears.
that's
Because you've recognised it. It could be something like that.
and they're always like super clean and super white, and
Mm.
if they so you
Yeah,
know what I mean. It's if you like you say, we all live in Blackpool. You go up down Blackpool Prom, if you see a feather fall from the sky, you're like, it's from a seagull, and they're not that clean.
yeah,
So it's definitely quite an interesting um, thought process. And literally, the day my dad died, or the day after, my sister went back to work, and just as she got in the car, this white feather, just appeared on her car. Or maybe either just as she got into the car, or just as she got in, this feather was just appeared on the car, which I'm like, that's you take
Wow.
it as you want it, but it's got to be
The
a
also
sign.
fact that it was in a building. Your both episodes were in a building, in a
Yeah,
house.
yeah,
yeah,
Where the hell did it come from? There's
you tell
no
me.
skylight open in yours. There's no windows open.
Like you said, the
That's
stage where I was, you have to walk through the main reception, and then there's like another sort of like I don't know, as you walk through the reception, there's just like it's not a dining, it's just like a lounge area, say. And then you walk through a set of double doors and into the room where the stage is. Obviously, it's quite a big room. So
yeah.
this one feather has just appeared on the stage, which is right as far and further away from the doors as you can think. It's physically, and
Oh
obviously, no
my
one else has
god.
been up to that stage wearing feathers, so I
yeah,
can't explain it. And the fact that
That's
it's
weird.
disappeared, and like Carl said as well, the same with his mum.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
three of them. I mean,
Mm.
that's mad.
3 different
And then
parts of
If
the
I
it just
house.
sort
remember
of
rightly,
disappeared.
if I remember rightly, I think there was one when um, I met you at the spiritualist church, and if I remember rightly, there was a feather in there when we were doing a
Really?
service that time.
Was there one on the ramp
Yeah, that
once?
was it. There was one on the ramp, and there was one near the thing where you stand up to give messages. The
No.
Stonesy one as well.
Ah. Something sounds familiar about that.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah,
that. Just come over with that.
it's pretty
So it just
pretty mental.
appeared in the church. Is that what you say?
Yeah, the spiritualist church. Yeah,
And again,
And it was
it's
on
like
a
double
chair.
set of doors, double doors.
yeah.
No one put it there.
Nope, it was just
Weird.
there in the middle.
And there's no skylight or nothing like that either, is there?
No, no, they're like old fashioned wooden doors at the Spiritual Church. It's
Yeah,
like it's
the
one of the
old
original
Geordie.
churches in it in the country, I
Yeah,
think, if I remember correctly.
That's mental.
Yeah, there's
That's crazy. This is what I mean. There's got to be something supernatural about it. I mean, you don't just And, I mean, like with mine, I mean, mine just float down. But like I said, it was floating down. I didn't even notice it. I thought someone was on my head, and there it was.
Mhm.
But where it come from, I don't know, because there was no birds about. Obviously, there's no trees about, and it just
Yeah,
dropped, and it was pure white.
it's
No, there was
crazy, isn't it?
no discolour to it at all. It
Yeah,
was pure white. Even a little bit on the end, you know, the little, I don't know what you call it, little, I don't
the
know,
quill bit or
yeah,
whatever it is. Yeah,
that was absolutely mint. It was, oh, it was really weird.
yeah, that's cool.
They say they sit on the clouds, and when they want to give messages, they fall off of the clouds and come down. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know.
If you
See, that's a good.
if you think about it, it's like the religious side of it. You know, the holy dove is white, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's why it's
exactly.
probably always a white feather.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good. And white, even when like in Christian marriages, like Catholic marriages, white is I forgot the name of the reason, but you know what I mean. Purity in it,
Yeah,
it's pure.
yeah,
So yeah, I guess it definitely does make sense.
white's a happy colour, is it? Do they
Well, it's
class it
classed
as?
as pure. So like when like your Holy Communion, like especially in the Catholic Church, well, obviously which I'm Roman Catholic, it's all white. So it's like white dresses and it for the first Holy Communion, your confirmation, everything. It's about
Yeah.
pure being pure. And again, a solid white feather is pure. You know, there's not 1 inch
yeah.
of dirt or anything been marked on it.
Oh.
Yeah,
But it's like,
I
you
think.
never know where they come from. That's what crazy is about it. I mean, you've had it, you know, when you're performing. You've had it in your house.
Yeah.
Where the hell coming from?
Well, this is it, and I
They're not
think
the ones that
even
go in like a pillowcase, are they? You know what I mean?
even
Yeah.
to some people who may not believe in this, it's still nice to think that your relatives who have passed away are still bringing you something. Again, with every single thing we're going to touch upon in this episode, I'm going to move on to something else now because obviously we've spent quite a bit of time on
Oh
feather
yeah.
scent. Excuse me. So I'm going to now move on to scents, obviously smelling things. I've had this a few times, not often. Um, Obviously, my first experience with that was I remember sat at my granddad's house actually, and my auntie Ivy, she was when you used to go around to the uncle's house. She was never in. You'd see her briefly because she'd always be somewhere. She'd always out, and but you know, there's just certain things remind you of people. Like she always used to wear a lot of perfume, so that's such a
Yeah.
you just and you instantaneously remember that scent. And I do remember sat just with my granddad watching telly. This is after obviously she'd long passed, and even her husband, my uncle Luke, had passed. So it's not really a smell you'd even think of anymore because she'd been gone for quite a few years. Uh, and we just sat watching telly, and I got this scent just straight across my nose. I went, Granddad, I've just smelled Auntie Ivy's perfume. Like, that's very bizarre. I can't explain it. So that's probably just coming in passing, you know, just giving you that, you know, like a memory. Because she always used to buy sweets. That was always the thing. When we used to go to my uncle's house, he used to have a bag of sweets behind the chair, which she'd always go out and bring them for us. So again, it just brings that memory back. Carl, I'll start with you this time. But what about you? Have you had any issues, any exper ex experience with scents?
Yeah, quite often.
Okay.
I smell some rose type perfume. If I'm feeling a bit low or down or anything like that, I'll get the smell. It'll just come straight across my face. And the rose perfume. And my grandma used to wear a specific type of rose perfume that she used to have all the time.
Yeah.
And you can just smell it. It's so strong that it literally it drowns out the air around you. You can just literally smell it. You'll walk in, you walk out the room, and you'll walk back in, and it's there. It's like someone's opened, I don't know, like a flower thing in your room.
Oh,
It's
really?
so strange. And I've had that a couple of times. I've had it when I've been out as well, for instance. But I've been sat in a restaurant and I've smelt it,
Oh,
the
well.
exact same thing. And my family smelt it. My partner smelt it as well. And it's weird. But when you're feeling a bit low, and if there's any viewers out there that's feeling low or think like that, just call out for your family and see what you get. But you might 9 times out of 10 you might get that smell of perfume and roses. You might get things like that. But yeah, for me, I
Exactly.
get it most days.
No, that's wow, that's awesome. I just remembered something else just before we'll get on to Bob. Um, Another thing what happened. This wasn't even that long ago. I think it was about 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It was when I was in Cyprus working. So I had this apartment to myself. Obviously, excuse me, and it was on like just a midday, just And I thought, I'll do a meditation because I've been having some weird experience out there, spiritual wise. So I thought, right, I'll do this meditation. So as I meditate, I could smell my granddad's tobacco. And this tobacco he used to smoke was from America. It was this cherry tobacco, very distinctive smell. And I'm like,
Yeah.
someone, I could smell it really strong. So I thought, is someone smoking that tobacco? I'm like, how weird. So I got up and went out of my apartment onto like the balcony bit, looking around, which there's no one around. And the apartment below me, there was never anyone in. So I'm like, oh, weird. And then anyway, so I carried on, went back into meditation, come again, but it was really strong, like as if he was sat in the room smoking it with me. Again, I'm like, this is weird. To the point it happened literally 3 times. It happened. Couldn't explain it. And like you said, this tobacco is not a familiar brand of tobacco. Not that I really know much about it, but I just remember it used to come from America. And it was this specific cherry smelling tobacco. But yeah, that was 3 times that happened while I was in Cyprus, and I was like, I literally phoned straight to my mum like, you never guess what's just happened. Unbelievable. So Bob, we will move on to you, buddy. Have you had any things with smells? Any experiences?
Well, like I say, when I went, sometimes when I go to bed, like, and I'm sort of like dozing off to sleep, I can
Yeah.
actually smell. It's like a cigar. I don't know what. It's not him upstairs, obviously. I know he smoked there, but it's not that. It's a cigar smell. It really smells strong, like a proper cigar.
All
And I
right.
had it about 3 occasions, and I couldn't understand what it was. And every now and then, it just sort of comes across to me that maybe I should investigate it, but I never have. But it's always by where I lay sleep. It's always by that window, that door. I don't know, but it's like a cigar smell. It's really, really strong.
Oh wow.
I still smell it when I go to bed. I think, well, no, can't be. Yeah, it's probably upstairs. But it obviously his roll up's not as strong as this tobacco. It can't be because it's really, really strong stuff. Honestly, it's just like a cigar or a pipe or something like that.
Yeah,
It's wow.
that's good.
And I've never investigated it, but I still do smell it to this day.
There's no one in your family who's passed like your dad or anyone who used to smoke cigars or pipe smoke or anything?
Uh, my uncle Bernard, he used to smoke a pipe.
Yeah. Has he passed?
Um,
Has he passed away?
he died 2 years ago.
Maybe
Yeah, he
maybe
used
do a
to
call out and
smoke a.
ask.
Well, it's weird. It's like a
Yeah,
strong back. It's really. Oh, I know it's not a fag, and I know it's not a roll up. It is
yeah.
really strong.
Oh,
It's
that's
like you
good.
stood there, smoking a, I don't know, smoking a pipe or a, you know what I mean, or a cigar right next to me. Weird, absolutely.
Was you close
And
to him?
it baffles me because I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Was you close
I
to him?
sometimes get it in the bathroom as well.
Uh,
I can't get it.
maybe he's following you. Maybe he's around. Just to letting you know that he's around.
Yeah. I mean, my old man smoked, but like I say, my old man smoked fags. He didn't smoke any of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even my uncle Bernard's the only one I know that smoked it.
Wow.
The old people, and he did have a casual cigar. My uncle ever had a casual cigar, but my uncle Eric's still alive, but my uncle Bernard passed
Yeah.
away too. But he was always on a pipe.
Yeah.
So
Maybe it's
weird.
worth asking out and just trying to find out.
I think it'd be a good idea to, you know what I mean? Like I said,
Yeah.
it's weird because it still happens now.
Yeah.
Really, I
That's
know what
awesome.
a cigar is, fag is, and I know what a roll up is, and you know, and it wasn't none of them. No, it was too strong for that. Too
Yeah.
strong,
Wow.
really. I never told Nick about it, but like I said, I will do. You know what I mean? But yeah,
Yeah.
it's really strong. You know what a cigar is, and you know what a pipe. It's really strong. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Strong. It was like he was right next to me,
Yeah.
or whoever it was right next to me. Weird.
Oh
And then I
wow.
got in the bathroom. I went, oh my god, what's going on here? I'm being
Smells like
followed
me.
here.
Yeah. No,
It's
wow,
like
that was awesome.
really weird.
So, guys, make sure you, like say, we keep saying, make sure you get your comments into us. Let us know about your experiences because, when I go live, obviously next week, when we'll sort of go over some of them comments and do a bit of a recap into obviously some of the things we missed from the last 2 weeks. Like you say, as we've not been live and obviously pre-recorded. But this is what I love about, especially this subject of, all these different experiences and like this, you just know, and I think. Before we move on to obviously the next part of this Sounds from Loved Ones, just certain things like that, and normally person you think of is there straight away before you even thought about it. You know, when you're like, oh, it must be from just there, and I think you can just tell you. It's like it's just lovely just having a conversation about it, and taking all your different experiences and obviously the viewers' experiences, which we will get into. It's absolutely lovely. So yeah, absolutely loving this one. But just before we do get back into our next topic, don't forget, everybody, we will be live Thursday, the 12th of August at 8 p.m. for our brand new show. Thursday Night Live, a night of experimental communication, of course, sponsored by Paranormal Technology, and you will see some of Mark's equipment being used in the course of these episodes. But if there's anything you'd like us to see us try, well, maybe we don't have planned, make sure you get it in the comment section or send us a message on the Facebook page, and we will get back to you, and we'll definitely open some more ideas what you'd like to share with us. But I'm really, really excited for this one. It's going to be awesome. So now I'm going to move on to dreams, because dreams is an amazing subject, which, when you look at a lot of things about dreams, some dreams you remember, sometimes you wake up in the morning, you can't remember anything, you're like, oh, damn, must not have dreamed. And I find it weird when sometimes you see people you'd never seen in your life in your dreams, and science say, don't they, that you can't make up a face you've never seen before. So this person, whoever it may be, you're seeing maybe your meditations, your dreams, sort of unexplainable, which is quite an interesting subject. But I absolutely love dreams. I love sort of, the subliminal messages within dreams. Like, every time we used to always have odd dreams, as I call them, in my house. I always just got to my granddad, I had this weird dream, and he'd sort of decode it all. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. There's always sort of a meaning behind it. And I find, when you see your loved ones in your dreams, it's too real to be something you've just made up in your mind. Because you wake up in the morning like you've literally just sat in a room with them. I find it absolutely amazing. Carl, I'll start with you on this one, buddy. If you're happy to share with us, what's your sort of standout dream?
Yeah, my standout one I think must be I seen me grandfather and me grandma outside a white cottage and it had their surname on the gate and a little mailbox at the side. And I walked up the path to the kitchen at the back end where it's like cottage facing this field.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, Grandma's in there, she's baking. So we walked in there, she was baking cakes, things like that, and cookies and everything, and I could literally smell it. Like, go back to the smells as well, it's one of them as well, I could smell
Yeah.
it. And I could smell the baking and everything, and she said, oh, we do this all the time, and we sit out here, we have our cakes, we have a cup of tea, we just sit and reminisce about our life when we were alive, which I thought was really interesting. And then a couple of days later, I thought I'd do a bit of meditation, and I got the exact same thing under meditation as well. That my granddad and my grandma are on the other side, living in a cottage with a field, and then they have all their other loved ones that's passed before them that come round for like tea parties and things like that.
Yeah. Wow.
That for me really stands out because I've never forgot it. And they say the only way that your family can come to you in dreams, what better way can they come to you when you're asleep, basically, because your mind's all relaxed, you haven't got the worries of the day, and they just come to you straight away.
Well, that's the thing you mentioned then about smells, because they say you're not supposed to smell when you're asleep here. Apparently, that's the thing. And obviously, that is absolutely awesome.
I agree with that. I've had that. Well, I've actually smelled something when I'm asleep. Yeah, it's seriously mental. I totally agree with what you're saying. You can.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think so, but you can. It's mental.
This is what I love, like you say, about dreams. Because just from that, how heartwarming it is, and yourself when you wake up in the morning, that was real. No matter what anyone says, people who don't believe, that was real. What about you, Bob? Is there something you'd like to share with us?
Well, my experiences was obviously my father, this is a day after he died. I actually, because I never had much communication with my father.
Mm-hmm.
We wasn't close in this sort of thing, which was a shame. But what I said, okay, what we will be, he's passed on, whatever. And that night, because I really wanted answers, this if he loved me and this sort of thing. So I don't know why, it must be my subconscious mind, whatever. But I actually, when I dreamt, I actually see him walking down the street, coming towards me. As I'm walking that way, he's just going past the telephone box, just like that, and we meet eye to eye. I turned, he turned, He smiled and then just walked off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, well.
smiled and walked off, and I looked back and there was no one there. But it was like he was saying to me, "You're okay, son." Da 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 da. That was brilliant. Yeah, absolutely amazing.
That's
It was amazing.
amazing.
And then my father-in-law, I see him as well.
Hmm.
I don't know. It was quite weird because he was just sort of like he was just coming out of a gate. I was just walking past that gate, and he was just stood there as he was just coming out. We bumped into each other, and I think he said hello and all this sort of thing. And then believe it or not, he just disappeared as well. Just walking up, I walked off, and then he just disappeared. Absolutely, but I see him as well. Yeah, and that was 2 days after he passed away. I think it was
Yeah.
weird, but I think so. Like your subconscious mind tends to. I don't know. I think it just repays you for that sort of thing when you ain't seen that loved one for a long time,
Yeah.
or you finished on bad terms, or whatever. You can look back, and I can look back and say, "Wow, honestly, I got a smile off him when he walked away.
Yeah.
That was brilliant." And so with my father-in-law, he spoke to me before. You know what I mean? Mental. Yeah, so I think there's a reason for it. Absolutely crazy.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah. One of my experiences, there's two actually I'm going to share with you. One of them's not mine. One of them's my granddad actually. The night my nana died, because she was poorly when she died. We had the hospice people in looking after her. So obviously my granddad went to bed. And that night, just before they woke him up, he'd had this dream, and his dad went past him on a bike and like waved at him. And I think he saw his mum as well. But then as this is happening down the street, my nana is crossing the road, basically crossing to the other side. And literally within seconds, my granddad's woke up and obviously said that my nana had passed away. But this dream,
Oh,
but this dream had happened, and obviously he knew subconsciously of this dream what it actually meant. Of the fact that he saw his dad, and he's obviously my nana had
wow.
crossed the road, like crossing the other side, which I thought was absolutely quite crazy, to be honest.
Oh, sad.
Like he'd
Wow.
had some crazy dreams, especially before he died. He had a lot of like sort of reminiscing things. But I guess it's just sort of replaying things. But I think the one I want to share, obviously I've had a lot of crazy dreams. This tends to happen to me a lot, getting spirit come through, like maybe my granddad or my dad or different variety of people. Um, but this was literally like 2 days ago. So what had happened? My dad was with me, but he wasn't with me, but as if he was talking to me, if that makes sense. It's very weird. Can't explain it. And so in the dream, I was in Rome, um, which I never dreamt about Rome before. But I had my dad. This sounds weird. I had my dad's ashes in my backpack with me, so take him on the journey with us, I guess. And it was all about. But he was subconsciously telling me about to write this note and to take him to Rome, and to like meet the Pope, but like to write this letter to the Pope. So I woke up in the morning like that was a crazy dream, and then I googled you can actually mail the Pope, and um, you do always get a reply. So I was like, you're trying to tell me something here. Because I've not been thinking about going to Rome, but thinking about going to Lourdes and stuff. But yeah, it was just my dad was saying, put me in the backpack and take me with you, and like and then I found out every Wednesday you do an audience with the Pope where you get tickets and you can meet him. So I'm like, there must be
Wow.
something in there for a reason, for me to go. Because I went to Rome once, but it was years ago. I think about like 2007. I think last time we went, 2006. But yeah, that was my most recent. I think most recent. Yeah. So
You know
yeah.
when you went to Rome, right?
Hmm.
Did you actually go to a certain place with? Obviously, you say your granddad was with you. Yeah? Did you go to a certain place? Could you recognise anything around that
Look, tell
place?
you what was weird. So
The
when we
reason
went
that
to Rome,
says you could go to Rome and see if you could find that place.
well, what I saw so when in real life terms when we went, it was just me, my mum, stepdad, and my sister because my nana and granddad stayed on the ferry on the cruising, um, and because they'd been a few times, so obviously they said, and then he said to go into the catacombs, where all the popes are buried. And
Oh
he's like,
yeah.
see what kind of feeling you get. Touch St. Peter's foot as you walk in. Did all this stuff. And he asked me, he said, did you get any weird feeling? I said, no, actually. I said, it was very chilled and very. Um, but when in this dream I had the other day, because it was too with my dad, I was just stood, as if you look at you know when you watch that documentaries and you look at the Vatican and you sort of stood in the middle of the ground in the Vatican
Yeah.
sort of, that's what it was
Yeah.
like. If I was just stood in the middle of it all and there's just things and people around me, and I just had my backpack on with him in my backpack, as random as that sounds. So there obviously is a reason for me to go to Rome. So I'm definitely taking that. But yeah, I've had a few, like you say, over the years. That happens to me more really, having these dreams and waking up like, I think every other week I'm like, I had a crazy dream last night. But there's always a meaning to it, or you know what I mean. I think I'll tell you once. I did a reading. I think it was excuse me. I think it was when I did my course, you know, with the Arthur Findlay College, and I think it was after that night. It was something to do with the cards, and it was literally as if I was sat in my granddad's front room, and he was sat there with his glasses on, which he used to wear for his mediumship when he used to obviously do his tarot cards and stuff.
Wow.
And yeah, I was sat in the front room, and he didn't say anything to me, but he was sort of leaning over, you know, like he was in teaching mode, and literally sat in his chair, and I think a lot of the time with my spirituality and with regards to clairvoyance and stuff, it always goes back to my granddad's house. I'm always in the front room where he did the readings, you know, things like that. That tends to happen a lot to me on experience wise. But yeah, I think, like you say, dreams is just, you know, you just know, don't you? You just know from that feeling. Like you say, when we have that dream about one of our loved ones, you know, you just know.
Oh,
You can't
exactly.
take away that feeling you get in your heart,
No.
or that feeling as if you literally sit and then you wake up and then you're down because you're like, I just wish that one day that I'll just turn around and they stood there full body going, hey, I'm here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is a lot to ask for. But I think this is a subject again. This is one of them things we could talk about for hours, just from different experiences. I'm just
Oh,
gutted it's not 100% live because I think this would probably be the longest Paranormal Tuesday we've ever done. With
know.
comments. So, guys, like I say, we'll do a recap next week on next week's episode and get through all your comments and obviously have a talk about what you commented because I'd definitely love to hear about all your experiences. And like I said, Bob and Carl will be on watching it live as it's playing, as if on the live stream. So obviously, any questions, obviously they can comment back to you. Wow, absolutely flown through this episode. I didn't realise we're near enough on 45 minutes. Wow.
It's been a real good episode.
It has. I think
Really interesting.
to say we obviously wouldn't say we changed last minute, literally 20 minutes before we started recording. I just feel there was definitely a reason for that today. There's a reason this episode had to be done. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's for someone who's watching and it just, because I think sometimes, I think you'll all agree as well, like people have them experiences, but sometimes it's just like, I think I've had this experience, but I'm not sure. And then, maybe watching us just talk about what we've had and people's comments on the
Exactly.
video, it might be like, actually, yeah, that makes sense now. I've had them experience and it will be from, because even when my sister, after my dad died, I think she wanted, just a sign that it was okay. Obviously me being very spiritual, I'm like quite open to it all. And then she said, I've had some knocking in the house, but I'm not sure it's him, but I can't explain it. I'm like, well, that could be your sign. I said, you maybe just ask out, and that's what I think. It was not long. That was around the time then she got the feather. Things like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think we get signs in our life to say that our loved ones are they are thinking of us and whatever. No matter what the sign is, for a dream, for a feather, whatever. I think at the end of the day, we do get signs and we do acknowledge what is actually going on, and it's their way of
Definitely.
communicating with us. And it's a lovely day, and it's a lovely thing, whatever happens. You know what I mean? And you feel great about that. It's I don't know. It's special,
Yeah.
special. So with a streaming and stuff like that is a real good thing to sort of like think back and say, look, yeah, I did get something, and I'm happy what I've got, and I can cherish that for the rest of the time that I'm on this earth.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely fantastic. I agree. Anyway.
You know what?
Yeah.
That summed up
Been
this
great.
episode pretty well, that Bob.
Mm.
So, guys, just before we do finish, again, obviously, thank you to Bob and Carl for being a part of this. And, of course, thank you to each and every one of you for all your likes, follows, comments, and obviously the subscribers on YouTube as well, which we're building up now. I keep getting emails all the time, which is absolutely brilliant. So, thank you very much. And, of course, thank you for subscribing to the podcast. And listeners as well, of course. But before I do go, there's just a few things, of course, to mention again. Of course, Thursday, the 12th of August, which is not overly that long away now. We will be live from 8 p.m. for our brand new show, Thursday Night Live, a night of experimental communication. So this is going to be awesome. I keep saying this, but I'm genuinely really excited for this. You know, like you say, we come up with this idea and we were trying to think of something a bit new we could do, which may not have been done like this before. And I think you're definitely going to enjoy this. I think even, like you say, nothing's guaranteed. Might get absolutely nothing. But I think it's going to be an amazing night. And of course, joined by Bob and Carl, you know, and yourselves obviously watching live. I think it's going to be awesome. So make sure you tune in, guys. And of course, the end of the month, Friday the 30th of August, we will be live from our location, Paranormal Living Live. So make sure you do tune in, guys. Of course, the lives are doing really well. We had quite a few new people on. The one from a few weeks ago at Colne Cemetery. So make sure you do tune in with us and join us. And of course, you know, I do genuinely believe this from the experiences we've had, that, you know, when you send your thoughts out to us, I do think it does help.
Oh, it does.
Absolutely. Because you know, when I used to watch some of the lives from different groups, and you know, when people send love arts and stuff, or you know, like working with things, and I'm like, it's interesting to happen. But I think when you're doing it yourself, like you say, our group, and then people are sending them love arts, you know, commenting and you know, we're all open minded to it all, and we're all sending them thoughts out. You know, it definitely does help. So again, guys, Thursday the 12th of August, and of course Friday the 30th of August at 9 p.m. for our Paranormal Living Live. So again, thank you, Bob and Carl. Thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in this week. I do hope you've enjoyed it. I will see you all very, very soon. Good night. God bless. Love and light. Adios.
Be
Take
safe.
care.
Yeah.